The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com.
As always, I'm very fortunate to be joined by all my guests, but this is very special. We have 2 out of the 3 pretty and disturbed. We have Canary at the top, and then we have Alika down at the bottom. Thank you for joining me. Hope you're all well.
Yeah, doing good.
Yes, thank you for having us.
As always, Mo will have to make it up sometime.
She still owes you for the British accent anyways.
That's true. I look forward to getting that and hearing that. So we are here today. Well, tonight for me, today for you too. We are going to be talking about wrestling, and we've got all sorts of different topics that we're going to cover. Where would you like to start? What's the best? Canary, we'll go with you.
I want to talk about my top 5 favorite matches of all time, and I'm going to kick it off with the Firefly Inferno match between Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton during the Thunderdome era. That was one of my favorite matches because I had just gotten back into the wrestling realm at that point, like fully immersed myself, was prominent, or not really prominent, but I was really heavily watching it. And when I saw it, I was with my dad and my mom, and we were sitting in the living room. And I just remember being completely mesmerized by it. I was like, wow, this is great. This is, dare I say, cinema. I remember tearing up at one point because I was like, no, why are they doing this to Bray? I just got attached to this man. Why are they doing this to him? Why?
Yeah. What's yours, Alika? And we'll do one each. We'll go around.
Gosh, like there's such a long list. How do I say, for like the first one, as cliche as this may sound, it might be Trish versus Lita at Survivor Series in her last match for the women's championship. I don't know, just something about that match in that time, because that was like actually the year I got pulled into watching wrestling full time. Is like the story between those two just culminating right there, and then Trish taking the win at the end of it. It was somewhat bittersweet because at the end again, it was her last match. But just seeing the two of them together and the magic that they create was just mind-blowing.
Yeah, and I agree with you on both Canaries and yours. Both good matches, both got good reasons behind them and stuff like that. So for mine, I'm going to pick WrestleMania 26, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. The story behind that, the meaning behind that. I mean, it's like a 4-part series. You've got 25 with Shawn, then 26, then you've got 27, and then 28 with Triple H. But 26 for so many reasons. I grew up watching Shawn. Unbelievable the way he moved in the ring. Countless matches that he's had with numerous competitors like Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21. That's my next one, and I'm just throwing that in. But just he can have a match with anyone, and it'll be 9 times out of 10 a banger. But for me, I like a match that's got meaning behind it, like a story and emotion. And I feel that match like hooked me on. And it was at a point where no one wanted to see him go. It was just quite sad when he returned like 7 years later just for some Saudi money, because he kind of messed it up. So his last proper match is the one in Saudi Arabia, which we all know how that goes.
Oh, I did want to correct myself before we did move on. I called the wrong pay-per-view. Although they did face off for the championship at Survivor Series, that was 2004. I meant the one at Unforgiven. That's the pay-per-view that I meant. Don't fault me, guys. I know my matches. I'm just a little... Yeah.
Back to you, Canary.
I'm gonna go old school custody for Dominic match with Ray and Eddie. When I had gotten back into the swing of being a silent fan, I did a lot of research and I went back and watched a lot of matches from when I was a kid that I didn't really understand. And the custody of Dominic, the ladder match, was one of my favorites because it had me believing, even as an adult, that Dom might not be Ray's kid. It may be Eddie's. So for me, it was the storytelling of the match. It was the promos leading up to it, making Dominic himself almost doubt, is Ray actually my dad? Like, is he? Is he? For me, it was the story, but the match itself was absolutely amazing. And I love
That's like I mentioned. It's I like a good story that leads into a match, and it goes back to mine with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, and yours with Ray and Eddie. So I like them. That's got meanings to it. That was one of them. Alika.
I'm gonna go back to WrestleMania 24. That was the first WrestleMania DVD I ever got, and at the time, I wasn't so much of an Edge fan, and obviously I was rooting for the Undertaker. But I have to say, Edge versus Undertaker for the World Heavyweight Championship. Looking back now, as someone who's like a big fan of Edge, I kind of wish he took the W for that, especially that whole storyline with Edge being with Vicky and him getting her to do any and everything to make sure he keeps the championship and her abusing the power. And he cashed in on Undertaker. I can't remember what time that was. The dates are lost on me. But that whole storyline ended up into WrestleMania and Undertaker continuing the streak is just, I'll probably put that as like my number 2, and then like Trish and Lee that number 3.
Yeah. So are we just going WWE or are we going outside as
Any
well?
promotion.
any
Okay.
promotion.
Okay.
Mine are all just from the WWE.
Yeah. So one of mine would be Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. I think it was 2022, but it was what's the event? I don't know the event, but I know it's like September, October time. I can't quite remember the event. But yeah, even before the bell rang, it was just the crowd went erupt, and it was like it gave me vibes from like Hogan and The Rock, and that was quite nice to see. And it just ended in a draw, but it's a shame that Brian may not win next week. He may win, he may not, but he always said that he wanted to retire before his daughter turned 7. But if they ever do tear it up again, it'll be another electrifying match. But it was like a 30 to 60 minute just banger. And it was just like fast paced, and that was one match that I quite liked. So Danielson versus Kenny Omega.
That's a good one.
What about you?
For me, my third one, and it's not in any particular order, but these are just all of my top 5. The Bloodline Civil War. That was my favorite because I was a huge fan, still am a huge fan of the original Bloodline. Let me make that clear. Original Bloodline. I was and still am a huge fan of the original Bloodline. So for me, I got to see them in person when they came out to San Jose a couple years ago. And I got to see the Bloodline as a whole. It was amazing. So seeing them basically splinter from the inside out, it was almost heart-wrenching for me, but it was really fun to watch at the same time because it kind of created this little war between my mom and I. It was a fun war because she was for the twins, I was for Roman and Solo at the time, or if he wasn't in it, I can't remember actually. No, he was. He was. I was with Solo and Roman, and I just remember her and I bantering back and forth, and then I just remember blurting out, "It's all part of the story. It's all part of the story." And I remember she told me, she's like, "I hate that you get so analytical about this because I know it's part of the story, but I'm so immersed in the fan version of it that I'm just like, why are they doing this to my boys?" Like, oh my gosh. So for me, it was the Bloodline Civil War because I didn't like seeing them fight. I hated it. But it was an amazing match and it garnered a lot. So for me, it was the Bloodline Civil War.
Yeah.
I'm actually sorry.
Sorry. You first.
I was gonna say I'm gonna bounce off of Courtney with that, but pre-bloodline per se, this is Thunderdome era. So Roman versus Jay, and it's the I Quit match at Hell in a Cell.
That was
That
good.
one, that was a really good match. Just like again with like the story and like bringing in the personal effects of it, and you know Jimmy coming out to like basically say like this isn't you. It's like what are you doing? This is your cousin. We grew up together. Only for Roman to put him in the guillotine
Mhm.
and forcing Jay to quit. And then as Roman walks back up, and this is just me giving condolences to the Anawai family and the Fatu family on the passing of Sika and Alpha recently.
Yeah.
Having them put the
Ulafala.
sorry, the Ulafala on Roman, signifying him as the tribal chief of the family, saying that he's the head of the table. Just seeing that all culminate, honestly, was like goosebumps. And
Mhm.
seeing how the story is now, and given everything that's happened, I'm just honestly waiting to see how further that goes with
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. I think Jay's 2020 and 2021 run as a singles character is so underrated.
100%.
I don't think he gets as much credit and appreciation as what he does, because obviously there was no fans. So, and then his brother got injured at WrestleMania, and they were like, "What do we do with him?" And then they're putting him with Roman, elevated him, and then he did it again. Was it last year? No, not last year. Was it last year?
Yeah, it was last year
Yeah,
when he left Bloodline.
he even did it again.
Mhm.
He had he's had a few matches with Roman, and it shows that he can hang with him, even with the top.
Mhm.
So I was quite disappointed that they didn't put the briefcase on him this year. Felt like Drew didn't need it.
No.
It was like a waste. Or, you know, just a quick question for you two. This is like a little quiz. There's been 4 people who have worn the Ulafala. Can you name them?
Oh.
Who's worn the Ulafala?
Oh my gosh.
Obviously, Roman is one.
Yeah, he's one.
Solo.
Yeah.
Who has worn the Ulafala?
I'm picturing the person, like I'm literally envisioning the person, but I can't for the
I'll
life
give you
of
a
me.
little clue. WrestleMania 23.
WrestleMania 23. Umaga? He wore the
Yeah.
Ulafala?
Ooh.
You know what? I gotta go back and watch that pay-per-view now because I don't remember
Yeah.
seeing him wear the Ulafala, but he probably did. Forgive me. I was like 6 or 7 around WrestleMania 23.
Do you want to see it?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
2 seconds. There you go.
Fake
Oh, that's right.
No, it's coming back.
Yeah, it is. Now it is.
And then who's the first one?
The first one. I want to say High Chief Peter Maivia.
Correct.
Go Alika.
Umaga probably would have took me out, but you know.
You got it.
So I
I'm
was
gonna
just
have to go back and watch all those now.
So just obviously we're still on the Bloodline one. What's your opinion on this one?
I'm for it. Just because I didn't take Sami Zayn out of there, first of all. Take Sami Zayn up out of there. But other than that, the lineup is beautiful if you take Sami Zayn out. So
okay, so you take Sami Zayn out, who would you replace? Because you need 5.
I would probably I'd switch Jacob and Zilla, to be quite honest. Just because, in my opinion, I think Zilla he'd do better with Solo Sikoa, and I feel like Jacob would do better under Roman. But if I have to replace anybody, if I have to replace Sami Zayn with literally anybody, I would put Seth Rollins in his place over Sami Zayn.
Why not Cody Rhodes?
One, he had to prove to me why I defended him to be a champion, and so far he's making me look like an idiot. Yeah, Alika can say I told you so. But I would put Seth because at some point Roman and Seth are going to meet again because of the whole chair gate. That man has PTSD from chairs.
Literally.
I don't blame him. So, but Seth and Roman have already established that relationship, and Sami Zayn, for me, didn't really do any, like, yeah, he was great comedic relief for the Bloodline and got them to great character on national and live TV. But for me, it kind of just, he didn't make sense, and he doesn't make sense with them even now. Even though he's friends with Jay, he doesn't do anything for me. So I'd replace him with Seth because at least Seth wouldn't pretend or try his absolute hardest to get in. He'd be like, look, we don't like each other, but we have one common goal here. So we can put everything aside just for this match. So that way I can help you, retain your, title. So that way I can help, so I can take you down personally.
Yeah.
So for me, it's all the little loopholes. So I put Seth in Sammy's place, to be quite honest. And then I switched Jacob and Zilla.
If you look on this one, you've got Hikuleo, who's at New Japan. I don't know why that's there, but I just found it. But I would put, obviously, Tangle over there. The Botchmania guy.
Hold on. Don't do Tangle like that. You're like jumping him a little too much for me.
What has he done right recently? He can't hold a championship right.
Leave that boy alone, okay?
He punched his brother in the doo-doos and hit Kevin Owens in the head. He tried to put Cody in a corner.
He hit his brother in the head.
Well,
he was supposed to hit Kevin in the nuts.
He's not that relevant because I don't care. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, he tried to put Cody into the corner, but he put him into the ropes. Do you want to go on? The list goes on.
I mean, like, honestly, when I first saw that picture, because I saw it on Twitter, when, like, I think it was around the time Tama Tonga debuted.
Mm-hmm.
And this is before Jacob came in and before all of that. And I'm just like, I spoke about this on our podcast. The fantasy booking thing is not for me because it's like you're getting your hopes up for something, knowing that WWE is not going to really listen to you that sort of way. Mm-hmm. They listen to you, but that's like, what, 15% of the time?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you keep wanting people who want to make a name for themselves in the E, and they're talking about, oh, they can go to NXT. It's like, no, let them prove themselves so it doesn't seem like it's nepotism,
mm-hmm.
which is the case for certain people in the poster. Not saying that they want to do good there, they will do great there, but let them build themselves up, let them make a name for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, I would agree with taking Sami Zayn out of that part. I get like he's an honorary Uso and stuff like that, but it just doesn't make sense. Like I will probably put I probably will butcher his name. He's right next to Tama Tonga. I feel like a fake fan right now. Hikuleo, is that his name?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably put him with Roman and then put Tonga with Solo and Tama and Jacob and Rock. Or like switch it around. I actually put Rock with Roman and put Tonga there.
Yeah, I'll pop it back up now. So there's ways you can do it. What I would do, I put Solo, Tama Tonga lower. I'd keep Jacob there, and then I put Zilla there. Because the reason why I put Zilla and Jacob together because recently, like the beginning of the year, teamed up quite a lot in GCW, and they're really close. And I spoke to Zilla yesterday. When I spoke to him yesterday, he was saying that they're so tight, and that when he does get to WWE, he hopes to reconnect. He says this a lot. Everything happens for a reason. And stuff like that. He says it's just about time and stuff like that. So that would be the team. Then obviously there's one space left for Romans, because really it's going to be Roman, the Usos, and who else? Yeah, so there's 2 spare. You could have Lance, who's not signed, and you could have, I don't know, Seth Rollins would be the best option. But I can't see Rock being there. I can see more the Rock being the manager side for Solo's team. Like, he sent Solo to be the tribal chief while he's away in Hollywood.
That's fair. I can respect that.
But yeah. We kind of diverted, didn't we?
A little bit, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all related.
It was so.
Always. Now a little borderline chat. But anyway, what we on number 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mine would be Sasha and Naomi winning the tag titles. So WrestleMania 38,
Okay.
I believe. That could be wrong. But
38, yeah.
no. Oh yeah, it was 38. For me, I always loved Team Bad together. So when I got to see Sasha and Naomi tag again, when Sasha was more of a baby face, it was a happy moment for me because I had watched Naomi in Total Divas religiously. So I was a huge fan of hers. And then Total Divas is actually what got me back into the swing a little bit. It was also my dad that kind of got me back into that. But watching Total Divas kind of like solidified it for me a little bit more because I was like, oh, okay, they're giving women more time. They're doing more with the women. And then tuning into that WrestleMania where it was the 6-pack tag match, I believe it was, or the tag team turmoil. It was just complete chaos everywhere. It was also a hard moment because Liv and Rhea were in that match as a tag team too. And I really loved them together. I loved Liv for Brutality. I loved all of that. So, but seeing them win, I cried. I cried when I watched it. I teared up. I cried. I remember my dad looking at me. He's like, are you seriously crying right now? Really? Yes, Dad. Yes, I am. And it was just a surreal moment for me because I was like, they worked their ass off. They're there day in and day out. They were carrying the women's division at that point in some ways for me. So to see them win those titles, it was a beautiful moment for me. So that will always be one of my favorite women's matches of all time. That will always be one of my favorites.
Yeah.
For me, it's not necessarily one-on-one, but it would have to be these are probably my last 2, the 2021 men's and women's Royal Rumble match. Just seeing Edge come in at number 1 and win the whole damn thing, like, it's very, rare for a superstar to do that. And then we have Bianca Belair winning, and she makes the first African American woman to win the Royal Rumble. Well, the women's Royal Rumble. And honestly, I teared up. I'm just like Courtney. I get a little too emotional when it comes to certain moments in wrestling. I teared up at the end of it when she was like, Mama, Daddy, I did it. Because it just makes you realize all the stuff she had to go through to get to this point. Because coming up in NXT, she had like how many title matches for the women's championship there? Never won.
Several.
She never won there. But she came up to the main roster, she proved herself, and she won the Royal Rumble. Like, that to me is like one of the greatest feelings, besides her winning at WrestleMania a few months later. And then with Edge, returning at the Rumble before. And did he win? No, he didn't win that one. I lied. That's how you know I'm a little, up there. The brain cells are dying. But seeing him come back the next year and him winning it, I honestly kind of wish he did win at WrestleMania. At least he'll have a title there. But at the same time, it wasn't time for Roman to lose it. So I understand why he didn't. And another problem with that was them adding Daniel Bryan into the match. Is like, that was totally unnecessary. I don't see why we need a triple threat match. Like it just kind of takes away from the fact that Edge won the Royal Rumble, and now he has to.
What do you expect? It's Daniel Bella.
Yeah. So the problem with me, there's so many great matches out there, and I'm sat here like when I hear you talk, and I'm just thinking, like, hear that, don't I? It's just so many. So for me, one which I'm better when it comes to tag team matches, it's very like wow. But this one's a 6-man tag from back in 2014, Shield versus Wyatt family. It's Elimination
Oh, that was a good one.
Chamber. Is it Elimination Chamber?
No,
Hell in a Cell.
no,
No.
I think it was Payback.
Yeah, Payback. I believe so. Yeah, it was Payback, I believe.
No, it's Elimination
Either
Chamber.
Elimination
Happened in
Chamber or
February.
Payback, one of those. It has to be Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, because there is a cage, so it has to be. Yeah,
Yeah,
it has
it
to be
happened before
Elimination.
WrestleMania, didn't it?
Yeah.
You're thinking of Payback with the Evolution.
Yes.
Yeah. The one moment I can remember from that match, that's not even the match, it's just like the lead up to it. You got the Wyatts, and then you've got the Shield, opposite sides of the ring on the apron, and you've got probably two of the, at the time, biggest groups in the company. And then it's weird because one steps up to the ring, then another is like, chest. But then you just hear the crowd erupt, and it's just like, and then you've got Bray Wyatt. Do you know how he used to like move that so quick, and then all of a sudden it just happens. And for me, it's just when you hear the crowd erupt and you just hear like the pop and stuff like that. Some memories like that and moments you can't like recreate. So that it's good, and it's glad that we saw it. So, and that obviously you mentioned Alika fantasy booking, that would have been one, and it happened. So I'm glad it did. But that's one of my favourite 6-man tags.
My last favorite has to be Seth versus Edge at Hell in a Cell, because I got to be at that SmackDown where Edge challenged him to that Hell in a Cell match. It was a surreal moment for me because I grew up watching Edge too. So seeing him run out there, full sprint, full speed. At one point, I thought man was like going to trip on the ramp because of like how fast he was going. I was like, oh, he's going to eat it on live television. Oh, nope, he's good. And then he gets in there and he's just so pissed off, so angry. Because the week before, Seth had went into his house and I believe went into his fridge and took an apple, I believe it was, and sat on his ottoman and just ate the apple. So for me, it brought me all the way back to the old, was it Ruthless Aggression era? All of that would take place. Brought me back to Ruthless Aggression era. So I remember everybody in that arena just standing up on their feet. And I remember the guy next to me was like, man, she loves this. She has chills going down her arms and she's screaming. And I was like, could you tell this is my first live event? So seeing that and then seeing them go to Hell in a Cell, that was one of my favorite moments of all time. One, because I got to witness one of the build-ups and then the challenge moment. So it was amazing. That will always be one of my favorite matches, and I have chills just talking about it.
That's good.
Yeah, no, I think the two Royal Rumble matches from 2021 will probably fill up my top 5.
Fair enough. And it's one of them with reviews, the meaning behind them. I think every match that we've all said there's been a meaning behind it. So my next one, I want to pop this guy up. Let me see if you can guess what match. It's my favorite of his.
Is this the one where he won the WWE Championship?
It's like yeah, when he won the WWE Championship from Brock Lesnar, No Way Out 2004. The reason behind that match, again, emotion, and he did a promo on SmackDown in 2000. 4, where he's saying that he is addicted. He's addicted to the love, the passion, the ring, or something crazy like that. You'd have to watch it. But then was Brock's like talking about his past and his demons and stuff like that. And then Eddie, in his own fashion, comes back and says, "Hallelujah." I can't. I'm not gonna try and mimic it, but you could tell that he meant it. So him winning that title to the pop that he got, getting up and all the balloons and everything coming out, that was just like a surreal moment because he kind of won it, not just for himself, but he won it to prove to himself, and he won it for his family as well. So that would be my top 5 to round it off.
It's a pretty good
solid
list.
top 5, honestly, yeah.
Eddie Guerrero would definitely be in Mount Rushmore.
Definitely.
My Mount Rushmore is...
There's 5, isn't there? Or there's 4?
There's 5.
Yeah, awesome.
There's 5 on Mount Rushmore? I don't know American monuments, bro.
I think, wait. Yeah, I think there's 4.
Well, we'll go 4 then. Who's your 4?
First of all, the original dead man himself, The Undertaker. I love the supernatural characters, even though the boogeyman would scare the absolute hell out of me as a kid. Like, absolute hell, like, scared me. But The Undertaker never scared me for some reason, and I don't know why. Because I remember my dad always telling me that The Undertaker was more intense than the boogeyman. Like, the boogeyman was kind of like that jump scare character that would pop out at, like, any point in time, whereas you knew the dead man was lurking at some point, like he was like watching or just something like that, because he was the dead man. And seeing his Buried Alive match, for me, going back and watching the Buried Alive match, and then watching his documentary and how they did it, that's what made me be like, oh, okay. I love looking at the behind the scenes of this, but for me, it doesn't take away the mystique of the dead man. So he will be my first on the Mount Rushmore of wrestlers.
Oh, I know.
Y'all know what answer is probably gonna come, or at least Courtney might know. It has to be Edge. It's like coming from ENC, like from the Brood to ENC, and then the rise of him becoming the rated R superstar, especially that one run between, I want to say 2000, maybe around 2005, all the way up until 2010.
Yeah,
I would say that run as the rated R superstar was just golden. The amount of heat that he got is like, as a child, I was just like, I don't want to see this man on my screen, like, get him off. But now as an adult, it's just like, I wish that I lived over there, that I was lucky enough to see this happen live. And I did get the pleasure of like watching Edge twice, once on Monday Night Raw in 2022, and then August the following year in 2023, at his last match in Toronto at SmackDown. I actually happened to get like 2 of his shirts that he released, and it's so surreal actually to see Edge. And I was so close to him both times, but neither times I could like get my hand out to like touch him or anything, but it was still so surreal. Top wrestler for me.
awesome. I've just recently said mine, but Eddie Guerrero, so many reasons. The way he is on the mic, his passion for the business. I think he got taken from us too soon.
100%.
Brilliant in the ring. Nothing but good things to say about him. Classics for Rey Mysterio, Batista, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar. I'm not going to say the person's name, but he's died as well. But yeah, good matches with him, Chris Jericho. Do you know what I mean? Just whoever he was in the ring with. Just you can't not watch a clip on YouTube of Eddie Guerrero and not just think what a guy, or just how entertaining he is. So he would be mine.
Piggybacking off that, because you two actually said two of them that are on my list as well. Edge was one, and Eddie Guerrero is another. So for me, it was Eddie was the perfect heel. Like, you would never get anyone better than him as a heel. He was the Latino heat. He lied, he cheated, he would steal, he would try to win by any means necessary. And he just brought the heat every single time. Like, it was so fun to love to hate him. And I remember my dad saying that sometimes. He's like, people love to hate them, before that saying ever became like really big when other people would say it. So people love to hate, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm always someone that will lean towards the villain per se, more so than the hero. I do lean towards the hero sometimes, but more so towards the villain. So for me, Edge and Eddie were two of my favorite heels. So putting him on, and then seeing Edge in the Ruthless Aggression era with Lita, when they did the whole, I stole your woman, or I left you for him type thing, not drawing any parallel to a current storyline, because in my opinion it has zero parallel, and they're not 2.0 version. You could never emulate them at all. So for me, the OG rated R superstar of him was my favorite, because I hated him and Lita. It wasn't until I became an adult that I realized, okay, he's doing his job. He's meant to make you hate him. And then they did the whole thing on TV with the bed, and my dad made me leave the room for that. I'm sorry. After that, I was like, okay, this isn't wrestling for me.
The
But
fact
then
that
John Cena came in and saved the day. John Cena came in and saved the day, though. So
They were wrestling, just the adult version of wrestling.
it was, yeah.
and Ric Flair.
Oh, yeah, and Ric Flair.
The fact that they got away with that.
Yeah,
They didn't even want to do it. That's how bad it was.
yeah.
Netflix next year.
No.
No.
Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
Just leave some things in 2005.
Leave it there.
The thing is, Netflix. I think I saw Dirty Dom was on with Logan Paul recently, and Dom said to Logan, "What's going to be the difference between, Netflix and I think the USA Network?" He says that the USA Network has to have like answer to sponsors and stuff like that, whereas Netflix don't do that. They've just got subscribers. That's it. And he said, "So we could do this, and the other." And he says, "Yeah." And he's like, "Jesus."
Yeah, I see that they definitely will have more creative freedom in what they can get away with and what they can't. And in some ways, I feel like it would make some storylines better, i.e., the Wyatt Six. You
Yeah.
can't get away with clapping people on live television on the USA Network or Fox. However, you can get away with it on Netflix. You can get away with it on streaming platforms, because we also know that the WWE is transitioning from TV PG back to PG 13 or TV 13 or whatever the rating is called. But it's no longer going to be like a family show. It's going to be kind of garnered more towards the preteens, the teenagers, and then the adults for me. So, like I said, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
100%.
Yeah.
Who's yours, Alika? Who's your number 2 and 3? Because Canary's just done 2 and 3.
What would be my 2 and 3? Gosh, I would probably say, I don't know if you would count them as one or as a separate, but Lay Cool, I feel like they don't get enough respect as a women's tag team before the titles even came into play. I mean, I guess you had the Bellas and all that, but like Lay Cool is like 10, 11-year-old me as much as I would have hated to see them on my TV because they were heels, obviously, is like their entrance, their attitudes, the move sets, especially Michelle's. Like, I feel like Michelle is not given enough credit, and Layla, they're not given enough credit for the work that they did while they were still there. That whole splitting the women's championship in half, their run on NXT season 1 with Caval. What happened to Caval? Anyone knows what happened to him?
He's Loki. He's known as Loki, and he's performs regularly for House of Glory and on the Indies and MLW and stuff like that.
Okay, I gotta look for a few of his matches, but like he kind of like stood out to me during that season. I think he was like the only one from that season that I remember, but he might not have been season 1. That might have been season 2. Because season 1 was like Wade Barrett and David Otunga and them. Wrong seasons. I'm getting shit mixed up again. But for my number 3, I'm gonna go with another female wrestler. I would have to say Lita. You can't talk about a Mount Rushmore and not have Lita as like one of your top wrestlers. It's like her whole attitude, the way she carried herself, and regardless of what people thought about her during that storyline with Matt and Edge, you can paint her the villain all you like, but it was not her fault that WWE decided to take whatever in her personal life and make it a storyline. Had that thing kept his mouth shut and be professional, none of this would have happened. And she wouldn't have gone out the way she did, because to this day, I do not appreciate how they did her in her last match.
Who you're on about to keep his mouth shut?
Who should have kept his mouth shut?
Yeah, who you're on about?
That ugly rat called Matt Hardy.
Matt should have kept his mouth shut.
But Hardy.
He didn't. And
jump scare.
I knew you were on about. I just wanted to say.
If Mo was here, she'll scream it louder than me. But
I have that photo.
Matt Hardy.
Matt Hardy.
Yeah, like honestly, had he just kept his mouth shut when it came to their whole personal lives, it wouldn't have worked out how it worked out.
Yeah, would have thought better.
But things happen for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason. Can you see what's on my shirt?
Is that the Brahma Bull?
It is. That's number 2, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. For me, the most electrifying man in all sports entertainment, the final boss, however he wants to go by. And that's sad. I've got a Rock quote on my rib. That's how much of a fan I am of The Rock. I love him. I think it's like last night, if you look in your podcast that we did, I was raising the eyebrow quite a lot.
Oh, I did catch that.
Yeah, I caught that a couple times too.
So, just the way, and it took me years to try and do that, the eyebrow. It took me years. The Rock in the ring, one of my favourite matches with him, apart from Steve Austin, the match that he had with John Cena. I think the second one's better than the first one because the first one got so overhyped, in my opinion. But great talker, funny. I loved his Rock concert, what he did for Vicky Guerrero. I think that was so funny.
I almost sang it just now. My bad.
I love it when he worked with, the Hurricane.
Yeah.
Back in 2003, when he went, "Oh, it's for you. It's nothing." He says he knows you. And yeah, I love him. Nothing but great things to say about him.
I do want to just add on to one of those segments that he did, the one that he had with the NWO, where he was I usually could say it word for word, but there was one part where he was like, "And you, Big Daddy Cool Diesel." I'm sorry, but that was the funniest thing. And if I watch any funny Rock compilations, that is the one I could say word for word. And if it's not that, it's the one with the Dudleys And it's like, do you know who we are? And it's like, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry, but like when it comes to like talking on the mic, that man will be the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
You cannot touch the rock on the mic.
You've mentioned obviously Diesel then, and then he also went on to Reza Ramon. And hey, Reza Ramon, hey Chico. I think that's what he did. But yeah, unbelievable. So he's my number 2. And number 3. See, I don't know how you two might take this one. Because you mentioned him last night, but none of you like him. Can you guess who it is?
I don't like a lot of people.
I was about to say, my list of people I don't like gets longer and longer every day. So you're gonna have to elaborate.
CM Punk.
Oh, Phil. That man. Hate Phil. Oh my God. When I said get in an employment line, I didn't mean the WWE's. I meant McDonald's.
Yeah, but why don't you like him? That's the question. Why?
For me, when I don't like a wrestler, it has to do with who they are as a person and like what they do outside of the company. Prime reason I don't fuck with Logan Paul, basically. I don't like him. He talks out of his ass and he expects there to be no consequences for him. He thinks he can get away with everything just because there's a Prime sponsorship with the WWE. I don't like him as a person. As a person, he's not a good person. Yeah, given in the ring, yeah, he's a great flyer and he does great off the top rope, but I don't like him. And he is going to have to do some serious soul searching, serious, just serious work on himself because he as a person is just not enjoyable. And for me, if I can see that you're a decent person outside of the ring, then I can get behind you more and I can be more of a fan. Correlating to Phil, CM Punk, he was a complete asshole to everybody that he worked with at AEW. The promotion was created for him and he was fired twice. How do you get fired from a promotion that was basically there for you the whole time? And you get fired twice. Not once, but twice. And then once in your hometown. So
when did he get fired the first time?
It was before his wedding to AJ.
Oh, you mean from WWE?
Yes, from WWE. Yeah.
I'm thinking AEW. I was like, when did he get fired twice from there?
No, he got fired once from AEW and then fired once from WWE. Which, by the way, is the most savage way to let somebody go. Literally the day of their wedding. Just be like, yeah, sorry, you don't have a job anymore. Good luck paying for this.
Okay, so just a quick question for you. If someone, because obviously Hangman spoke about a promo, like we all know the gossip with Punk. Mm-hmm. Hangman spoke about him, or whatever it was, and did a promo, and didn't ask for Punk's permission on a certain subject. So then he's gone behind Punk's back, and then Punk, the following week, correct me if I'm wrong, like, did the Punk thing, like, mentioned it in a promo. And then, obviously, we mentioned last night on the media scrum, I don't agree with what he did there. Not at all. When I say I'm a big fan of Punk, I'm a fan of him talking. I'm a fan of his matches. I'm a fan of the 2011 CM Punk. I'm a fan of that. I think the way when he got fired, I think the way he went about things, I think he was just a little crybaby. Like, obviously, yes, stuff happened. And obviously, Colt Cabana, he filed a lawsuit. He went to UFC. It failed. He said he never did go back to WWE. He said never, ever, ever.
Here he is.
7 years. And then he came to AEW. He was on a roll. You know what I mean? It's one of them. If you've got a problem with someone, don't air it on the social media. Yes, he had a problem with Kenny Omega. None of us will ever know what happened in that locker room, apart from the 6 individuals that were there. Mm-hmm. It's one of them. Only a boss can talk.
Yeah.
And I think it was very shady of what AEW did. Showing the Jack Perry from last year. Very shady, and that didn't need to happen. because if all, it just made Punk look even better, in my opinion. But I don't agree with how he goes about things. I think some things don't need to happen, like Jack Perry. I think his intentions are there, like the right reasons. I think because we'll call it a veteran, I don't think he tries to throw that status about. I think he tries to help people, but sometimes people don't want to help themselves. So then, you rub it up the wrong way and then friction starts, and then that's how it happens. But I don't know. But yeah, I don't agree with some stuff what he does. But the 2011, the way he talks on the mic, I think he's the promo with MJF, what he did, and the work that he did with MJF out of this park. I love it. I love that match. In my opinion, one of the best he's done.
For me, what really solidified me not liking him was finding out that in the bit of the promo when he first came back, because there was one with Seth and there was one with Drew, basically telling both of them at separate times that they were going to amount to nothing and they were going to go nowhere in wrestling, and they are basically crap. So for me, it's like you're talking all this smack about your coworkers, saying that two of the biggest names now were going to amount to absolute nothing, and now you want to face off against them or one at a separate time. So it's like, were you trying, like, I know this is not long-term storytelling at all, period. Like, this was just purely personal. And you could tell that within the promos, because Seth told him, we don't need you. We never needed you. We're doing just fine without you. You were the one that came crawling back to us, not the other way around. So for me, it's like he's very ungrateful for everything that he has, in my opinion. In my own personal opinion, let me make that clear. This is my own personal opinion.
100%.
For me, like the whole thing with CM Punk is just like I tolerated him. Like I really didn't pay attention to him that much before he left. But it was like more people using that pipe bomb clip for every release that happened over the pandemic, and it's just like give it a rest. This is why that man's ego is so freaking big, because you keep using this pipe bomb. It's like, ooh, he sat on the stage with a mic and went on a little rant. Okay, cool. Yeah, next. And then like the whole thing with AEW and taking shots for you to just end back up at the same place.
Yeah.
If you think about it, though, he's not really said anything bad about AEW. He's mentioned, obviously, that Tony Khan is a douche or whatever, but he's not really. He could slander the promotion a lot more, but he hasn't.
Can't. It's written into his contract that he cannot talk about AEW at all.
Yeah.
That I found that out when he came back. It was written into his contract because everybody was like, oh, his promo is definitely about AEW and how he's home now and blah blah blah. But it was written into his contract that he's not allowed to talk about his time there at all, period, because I don't know what the reason was, but WWE was like, yeah, no, we're not doing this. You're here now, and that's all that matters. You're not talking about it.
Crazy. But yeah, who's your fourth, Canary?
Melina is my fourth. She was everything that I want to be and still want to be and wanted to be when I was a little girl. Even I remember when I was a teenager at one point because I did watch it a little bit in high school. I just never told anybody. I remember going to my mom and I was like, I want to dye my hair black. I want to look like Melina. She's like, no, that's not going to happen. And I was like, because I remember just like looking at her and I was just in awe. And then seeing her do the split into the ring at the Royal Rumble that she came back at, and then seeing her go like do the split off with Sasha Banks, that was a really surreal moment for me, because I was like, that's the diva I grew up watching. That is the person I wanted to be if I was ever a wrestler. I wanted to be Melina. So Melina will always be on my Mount Rushmore. She will never leave there.
Well, Courtney Dunn stole my number 4.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, like Melina was probably one of the most. Probably like I watched her matches the most besides like Lay Cool and Lita and Edge. Like just like from her interest alone, it caught me. Like when she made her debut with Eminem, and she wasn't doing the jump off the rope and landing into a split. It was a whole one leg up, pulse up, that whole thing. And then when she won her first title, like it's just something about Melina that I just can't put into words to describe why she's my top. But Melina just gives the whole package as a wrestler.
100%.
The appearance, the attitude, she could back it up on the mic. Her moveset is just out of this world. To this day, I still try to do her finisher, but does it work for me? No. And we're not going to go into that as to why I was performing WWE moves on people in real life. Everyone knew me as the girl who was obsessed with WWE. And if I got mad, I would kind of throw it into like choke slam me or some crap. I don't know why, but that was just how it was growing up.
I try to 5-knuckle shuffle my brothers all the time. And then I almost got myself suspended from school once because I really loved Carlito when I was a kid too. So I would carry around an apple, and people that I didn't like or that I quote unquote thought were stupid, I would take a bite of the apple and spit it at them.
Jesus.
I remember my dad was like, "You can't. No, 2 weeks. You're done watching this for 2 weeks. You can't go around and spit apples at people. That's not."
I don't know. Me personally, I would have taken an apple right then and just spit it in his face, but I probably would have gotten grounded for like the rest of the year.
Jesus.
I mean, like I spit in the face of people who I don't think are cool.
What should?
Canary would have never seen the light of day ever again.
Canary would have been grounded for life.
Literally.
So my 4 is the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson.
Fair. That's fair.
Okay.
And I'm very excited. In a week's time, I'll be seeing him at Wembley. So that's going to be like a full circle moment.
Wow.
Like I mentioned earlier, that could go either way. He could win or he could lose.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of them. He's doing interviews, that this is his last thing, his career on the line and stuff like that. But he says that this is his last full-time contract. But, he could do part-time.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? So, just an unbelievable guy. His heart's in the right place. He loves the business. Banger after banger match. He puts his heart and soul into every match that he has, i.e. the Will Ospreay match. I don't know if any of you have seen that. I know you mostly WWE, but Will, that was a good match. And then he pretty much his last 6, 7, 8 months, he was in New Japan, Wrestle Kingdom, Wembley now. Him and 4 other people are the only people to do Arena Mexico, the Tokyo Dome, Wembley, and Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
Which, that's quite amazing. But yeah, Bryan Danielson is mine. So yeah, I'm nothing but good things to say about him.
Speaking of like Wembley, are your seats close to the ring or is it just like in the middle?
If my seats was close to the ring, I would have to remortgage my house.
Oh.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But put it this way, I'm at a good spot where I can have eye contact. And the only good thing about Wembley, because even if I can't see all the way down, do you know what I mean? You've got the little fronds up top, so you can think like that. You just think that you're at the cinema. That's the best way to do it.
That brought me back to my neck brace days. Not gonna lie.
Front row seats, you're looking about 6, 7, 8 grand.
Wow.
Pounds?
Yeah, pounds, which in American dollars it'd be about 11.
Jesus.
Uh,
That's
well,
expensive. I will sit in
if
the
you thought
nosebleed.
that was expensive, I remember I was trying to like get. Wait, no, that probably wasn't expensive. But like, if I wanted ringside seats for like a regular SmackDown in Toronto, I would have to be paying almost $1,000.
Oh, well, ringside seats for the UK for my closest place to me. The ringside seats, you get like a meet and greet with three superstars, blah blah blah, sign program, £400, which that's quite reasonable, I guess. For the experience in it.
I need to go back to another live event. I'm working on trying to go to Las Vegas for WrestleMania.
Oof.
Same.
It's supposed to be like a pretty undisturbed WrestleMania vlog type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Miss Mo, she's just like, she doesn't know if she wants to go anymore. And I'm just like, you're going to find yourself in Las Vegas whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So thank you. You're going to go.
I'm also trying to get tickets to the SmackDown show in September that's going to be out this way. So I have to look at seats and see if there are any still available.
Are you hoping to see this person?
Yes, again. I really do. I hope she's doing good.
So you go front row seat cameo when you're blonde.
Yes. That moment when I got to meet her, I remember I was so scared that the security guard was going to tell me no. Because I was like, I don't know how he's going to react, but, I'll just ask anyways. The worst he can do is just say no. And he's like, sure, and then moves aside. And I remember my phone was about to die, so I went through the rest of the show thinking I didn't get the picture with her. I get back in my friend's car, and I put my phone in the charger, and I got the picture. And I remember just being so happy about it. It was a surreal moment for me because I remember texting my mom the photo. I was like, you'll never guess who I got a photo with. And she's like, who? So I sent her the picture and she's like, oh, wow. I know that must have been a really cool moment for you because you do like her. So that was a really cool moment when I got to meet her.
Shinsuke Nakamura took my phone in the crowd and then went like that picture. So that was quite good.
At least she got a picture with somebody. I have yet to get a picture up close with any of my faves.
And Rey Mysterio has. And RVD.
I want to meet Ray so bad.
I met him 3 times. And I met Cody. Cody did it as well.
Ooh.
And Nick Jackson.
Like, I know who that is, but because I'm so
And
WWE-based.
AEW.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I can't get into it. I can't get it for Adam, not even Mercedes.
You've got to admit, though, that AEW does put on better matches.
I will say this whole Mariah May versus Toni Storm it's actually, I like it a lot. Because it was like the mother-daughter like dynamic, and then you have the daughter that bashed her face in. So that was like, whoa! I wasn't expecting Mariah to do that.
Yeah, neither was I, to be honest. In your opinion, Mary, what's the biggest what if in professional wrestling?
This might be a reach, but Sasha Banks, aka Mercedes Moné, finding her way back to the WWE. That is my biggest what if. And part of me will always hold out a little bit of hope just because Bailey's there, Naomi's there, and just the people that were her family. So for me, that's my biggest what if. It's not a match, but it's her coming back to the WWE. Even though I know it may not ever happen, that's my biggest what if, is I hope she comes back.
Okay. What about you, Alika?
Gosh, no. Like, I have one in my head and now it's gone.
Do you want me to tell you mine first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The mine would be, what if The Rock never left for Hollywood at the age of 32, still very young in the wrestling world, in 2003? And if he didn't become the biggest box office name in the world. What if? But he still had like years under his belt. Who knows what could have happened?
That is true.
That is very true.
Because
I'm
he would have matches with
thinking,
all people.
sorry, like the question was like coming out, but I was thinking like around the time of 2014 with the whole Shield implodement is like, what if they never did break up? What would they have still had like those singles runs? Would Roman still be booed for all of that time for playing a character that he was kind of forced to play? He had no choice about it. Would it eventually lead to Dean Ambrose, or now known as John Moxley, to end up leaving WWE altogether? Would Seth have even become Mr. Money in the Bank? Like, I just wonder what would have happened if they stayed together and they never broke up and went those three separate directions where it led them today.
Interesting. You could argue for all 3 points, to be honest.
Like, I don't know. It's something I've thought about, especially with the whole moments at WrestleMania with Seth and Roman in the chair. And it was like Roman couldn't let that hurt go.
Mm-hmm.
So just like, what would have happened had Seth not betrayed them?
I just thought of another one.
What are you thinking of?
What if Alexa Bliss never turned on the Fiend? What if she never got Lily? What would we have seen? Would we have seen one of the biggest, intergender tag teams? Or like, would we have seen something creepier, more dark, more like mystifying if they never split up? If creative was like, okay, you two are going to go separate ways now. What would have happened if she never turned on him? If she wasn't the reason that he lost? Would the legend killer be dead, per se? Would he be gone? Like Alexa had made in that promo where the legend killer dies, but he didn't. So for me, what if that never happened? What if he won the match, even though unfortunately the inevitable happened? Like, what would we have seen from the two of them? Like, would we have ever gotten Uncle Howdy, or would we have gotten him in a more intense capacity than what we had him in when he was first introduced to us? So that would be my biggest what is if she never turned on him. Because in all honesty, after she turned on him, her character, yeah, it was still spooky and yeah, it was still great and I loved her, but it lost the intensity for me with her because she was following a doll.
Mm.
So for me, it lost a little bit of intensity when she turned on him. So that's my biggest what if that I think about every day. What if she never turned on him? Like, what if that never happened? Like, what would we have seen? Would it have been bigger? Would it have been better? How would it have tied into the Uncle Howdy storyline and stuff like that?
Yeah. Who, in my opinion, do you think should have broke the Undertaker's streak? Who would, in your opinion, is the right person that should have done it? Do you think Brock was the right person?
I think it's.
No, go ahead, Courtney.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it should have been Kane because that was his brother of Destruction. That was his tag team partner for the longest time. So for me, I would have wanted to see Kane break his streak because it would have kind of like made it hurt more to him because it was his brother. It was the person that he was with for a long time. So for me, I kind of wish it was Kane.
Yeah.
I personally don't believe Brock should have broken it, and I think it was only broken because of the concussions that Taker suffered during the match. I believe someone who would have been his greatest rival should have broken the streak. Someone like Edge, that whole storyline and during SmackDown. I mean, like Roman was a good one to like break the streak because technically it's like passing the torch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I probably stuck between like Edge and Roman, even though Roman already did break it technically.
Yeah. I don't think Brock should have won it. I think if whoever should have broke that, because it was gone for like 20 plus years, I think whoever was going to win the next night, you're going to get heat. You're going to get like a rocky, from that forward, there forward, you're going to get like a rocket up your ass. And Brock didn't need that. But then I also look at it, like you mentioned, an arch rival or someone who's close to him, like what Canary said. Kane could have been an option, but if you think about the matches that he had, we'll say from wrestling.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
What just happened?
Bro, there is a big ass centipede on my floor. I swear to God. This is the... I'm so sorry, Jordan.
We're back. So, as I was saying before that little episode, I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, as I was saying, The Undertaker, his streak should have been broken, but it could have been broken by anyone. I think from WrestleMania 23 with Batista all the way up until CM Punk, I think any one of those could have broke it, to be honest. Because you mentioned rivalry and stuff like that. They all had good matches with him, and each one of them has had a meaning. Like Batista was his rival. The matches that they had in 07 was amazing. Edge, amazing. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, amazing. Punk was amazing.
I can't lie to you. I forgot that they wrestled at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think you forgot a lot of things at the moment. Anyway,
The shade.
what year, Canary, did you get into wrestling?
I really got back into it around 2016 when I graduated high school because I just had more time for everything. When I was in school, I was just very focused on, getting through high school because for me it was like kind of a miserable experience. So I was working a lot, but then when I graduated, I kind of felt really alone and I was going through a lot of things at that time. So wrestling was kind of a way for me to escape, and it was kind of a way for me to talk to my dad again because he and I had gone through some issues and I didn't know how to kind of make that connection, but I always knew wrestling was the safest option because it was something easy to talk about. Really, what is when Bray Wyatt was added to the main roster, when he debuted as, the cult leader. And then, when he really transformed and was in the Firefly Funhouse, because that character spoke to me more so than any of his other ones, because that character was centered around, mental health, his past selves, being puppets, all of that. So the Fiend, like when the Fiend was unveiled is when I really, really started to get back into it because I just remember being so mesmerized. And I remember just out of the blue talking to my dad about it. And I was like, from then on, like it was always our thing. So for me, 2016, or when the Fiend was unveiled for the very first time, that is when I really started it to watch it back. I think the very first match I ever saw back for the very first time was, I think, when it was against, who was his first victim? I'm trying to remember. It was either Seth or Finn Balor. I can't remember who. Finn? It was Finn? Yeah, I think it was Finn Balor because I remember it being Finn was wearing all white, and then there was the Fiend, like this god awful godly creature thing versus a man. So for me, it was like, oh, it's man versus monster. This is really cool. The only other time I saw something like this was the Boogeyman, but I'm much older now, so I could really get behind this. And then when he basically said that the Fiend was the version of himself that was more intense and would protect him, like would protect Bray Wyatt, the Fiend would protect him. So for me, that's what pulled me in. It really like mesmerized me. And like Alexa said in her promo, in the Thunderdome era, it was like a moth to a flame. Like you can't look, like you want to look away, but you can't. So for me, I really got back in with that era. And I always go back to that era sometimes just because I think it's my comfort era, to be quite honest.
Mm.
I'm not sure why, but that's my comfort era. So I always find myself going back to that time. And I also remember not liking Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star after that. Just because, or it was some nursery rhyme that they did. No, it was Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, I believe.
Was it?
I believe so.
You're going to Google that after, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Yes, I will actually Google that. And if I am wrong, I will correct myself.
Let me know.
But for me, that was my era.
Yeah.
That I really got back into it.
2016 was a good year.
Mm-hmm.
Alika, what about you?
I really got into it in the early 2000s. Well, I should say the mid 2000s, like 2005. I got really pulled in with the whole Edge and Lita storyline. Like that's where it all started for me. And then I got really into it. Well, mostly SmackDown because obviously I was going to school at that time, and I wasn't allowed to watch Monday Night Raw because it was after my bedtime. So the only time I was allowed to watch wrestling was Friday Night SmackDown. So I got accustomed to just watching the 2-hour show. It fell off around 2013. I just couldn't keep my interest anymore for some reason. And then it picked back up again with the Shield around WrestleMania 30. And then from there it picked up and then it died off around, I want to say after Nikki lost the Divas title. I kind of distanced myself from wrestling, got into other things, and then it picked back up around the end of 2019. And then 2020 Rumble came around and Edge came back, and that's when I really got pulled back into it, and I've stuck with it since then. But as far as I can remember, 2005.
Yeah. So for me, it would be late 2006 with Rated RKO versus DX, where Triple H got injured. And then early 2007, John Cena guy, you know, I was 7 years old, I shaved my head, you know, until I bit like him. I did like a grade 2. And then I had the little, pretty much everything John Cena, you name it. I was like a little John Cena wannabe. So John Cena, the fact that he's retiring next year is quite sad. But he's going on to bigger and better things. He's done everything in that company. And pretty much with you, like you said, from like 2007 to 2000, I want to say 12, 13, no, 2007 to 2012, solid throughout watching it. That's some of the best years of wrestling. I've always been a SmackDown guy. I think from 2013 to like 2016, it was good, but it wasn't, you know what I mean, solid. I think the authority was just shocking. I didn't like that at all. They have to do its purpose, you know, on screen stuff. I get that. It didn't do anything good for him. I also think from 2016, from what Canary said, that was a good year. I think that Survivor Series match was one of the best ones. And going forward, 2016 till now, it's just, I've kept my eyes on it, but then I've dipped back, you know, every now and again. But I do keep my eye on it all the time. And yeah, so that's me since 2007.
A lot of, I don't know what I was about to say. I'm sorry. I'm still traumatized.
Yeah, and I'm just dying to come off and then have a look at that again. But yeah, we've been going for an hour, 20 minutes. Where can people find you?
You can find us on Instagram at Pretty and Disturb. It's not and, but it's in Disturb, like look at the letter N. You can find us on TikTok at Pretty and Disturb 3, and also on Twitter with the same name. You can find Courtney at,
Hey, it's Canary on both Instagram and Twitter.
and you can find me at Flow Like Lay on Twitter. My personal Instagram and TikTok are under the same name as simply Alika. And yeah, and our YouTube, Pretty and Disturbed.
Yep.
And subscribe. And
Big
Spotify.
things, big things coming for you. Honestly, Canary, Alika, thank you for coming on. I really do appreciate it. Mo,
It was
we'll
a
definitely
pleasure.
get on next time.
We do
Definitely
appreciate
will look to run
having
this back. I've had a good time.
Me too. Thank you
So
so much.
Take care.
you as well.